What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to clear an area with a brush deck, and we're going to just give ourselves an access pass, because that's the number one rule of land clearing is access. Got a couple obstacles here. We've got a power line to be aware of. Got a dead pine that we're going for. That's the chief operation here, is to get that guy down without smashing this roof. And then we got like 4 other dead pines in there, because we've got this beetle that just wreaks havoc. It's like an Asian beetle, and it's just killing all the pines. And the only way to really deal with it is to get rid of the pines. These have been here way too long, so they've bred, they've moved on. When you see the needles start to fall, they've got to go. So there had to be to get rid of the pine bug, yeah, whatever they are, the beetle. Like, we would either have to have really cold winters for like a series of winters, or we'd have to just like actually get on it about eradicating them. No effort yet from the state level to do that. So it is what it is. We're taking off these pines. The best way to deal with it is to replant. We're gonna clean up this just to have more access so we can see what we're doing. Probably have to clean up a limb or two. I'm gonna ideally get the lift somewhere in here with the outriggers down, and then boom out to that, put a strap on it. I think we're gonna pull it from behind. We'll see, not really exactly sure. I might just get up there and just zip those limbs and then just take it at the ground. That might be the best way to do it. So like 3 or 4 cuts with the lift. It just depends on how much, like how far out I can get there with the boom. But we've got about 2 hours of access, like work just to get to the tree, and then 1 hour of just getting to the tree. That's my calculations. This should be like a 3-hour gig or so. So we are, yes, that should be basically it. We'll probably remove this guy off the Connex trailer too, just take him down. We'll see. And yes, let's get to it. Right, got that area cut in. I'm gonna let the machine cool for a moment. The thing with doing any forestry mowing or mulching, I call this a mower because it's a deck, and I'm a big fan of the deck, is you've got to watch your temperatures on these machines. And so these particular machines, skid steers in general, even the high flow ones, they're not really made to mulch or like run a hydraulic flow attachment continuously. They don't have the cooling system. They don't have the oil capacity. So the oil will get hot. And in this case, this is a 25 horsepower machine. As it sits, it's a $60,000 new unit. Like if you were to go, well, maybe a little less actually. A little less. Actually, way less. I think you can get this thing for 40, like the MT100 currently, and you get the deck for like 6. So probably under 50 with taxes. You could probably get that setup. You could also assemble that setup on a used end, maybe with like a Vermeer 725, maybe get it in the mid 20s or high teens, and then add a deck. I like the new, I mean, you can get a used deck, I suppose, but like a new price on a deck, 5 to 6 for a well-built quality deck. But what you've got is a machine that, in this case, if I were just a deck mow all day, and I'm not out here to deck mow all day, there's some infrastructure that you need to do it. Like, you've got to have compressed air in your truck, you've got to have, extra filters, you've got to have parts, you've got to have extra fluid, you've got to have extra fuel, you've got to have a way to adjust tracks if you get detracked, you've got to have a winch if you get stuck in the woods. Typically I like to go 2 machines, but like you can run a unit like this for an $1,800 a day number, and you're well over my dollar to horsepower ratio. So my dollar to horsepower ratio is, if I've got a machine, let's call it 100 horsepower, I want it to make a minimum of $3 an hour per horsepower. Like that's a good range. Ideally 4 or 5 or higher. If I'm in an area where I'm being competed with, like where the competitors are bidding at $1.50, $2, apples to apples, machine to machine, not a game I want to be in. So for what I found from coaching calls and things like that is the guys up north, you guys are in an area where you almost never see $1.50, $2 horsepower guys running. Down here in the south, I see it all the time. Like I see it all the time, particularly with the skid steer group, but with the smaller machine, smaller horsepower, but like more capability, it's a cool little niche machine. You can absolutely start in like micro land clearing, forestry mulching, forestry mowing with a machine like this. They make rotary, well, what you would call it a drum mulcher, or like, you know, like a typical drum head for it, as opposed to the deck. You can get those for about like 15 to 20,000. It's not a super high horsepower, high flow machine, but for little areas like this, for property cleanups, for abandoned properties, for cutting trails into woods, for doing some horse paths, it's a way to begin. I know I'll get pushback from the guys that do forestry mowing, oh bro, or mulching, oh bro, you gotta do this. You got, like, I've had the ASV 120, I've had the 299 XHP, I've had the 299, I've had the ASV 75, I've had the Bobcat 630s. Like I've figured out where in my market it's best. And like, if you're gonna do skid steers, 74 horsepower high flow machines with extra coolers is not a bad way to go. The big large track frames, the issue I have with them, like the XHPs, great machine. If you're gonna be like mulching, XHP, awesome machine. I think it's 110, 120 horsepower, maybe 45 gallons a minute flow, extra coolers, but you're like on the trailer, it's like 150K. Add a head, you're like 180K for that unit. Everyone's quotes vary. When I do coaching calls, I see quotes all over the board for the same exact machine. So it's always worth it when guys are buying machines like that to do a coaching call, because I have like invoices to compare it with. I've actually given invoices to guys and been like, yeah, take this to your sales guy and see what's up. Block out names and stuff. But I'm building a little database of that, because what I found through mystery shopping Caterpillar, like I got paid through a consulting company a few years ago to like go and mystery shop their dealerships. And I've learned like, yeah, Caterpillar's a great product for mulching and getting into this type of work. But the cost base is all over. So without going down that rabbit hole, just kind of putting ideas in guys' head, like, yeah, this is a very worthwhile service, and something that you can do a lot of production capability for very little. You can get going with like a small rig, and then from here you then continue to build. The issue I have with the large frame skids is like they're too big to be small, and they're too small to be big. I don't like it. If I'm going to be small, I'd rather be like small. I mean, the MT100 is like tiny. There's other machines we have that I sometimes prefer, but for this type of area, you're not getting a cab machine in here and like without wrecking havoc. And I've got electrical guys plugging up. FP&L here is plugging up this lot because this lot's about to get cleared. So we're going to be doing some work over this way, cutting access paths today. And so I don't really want to be running like an XHP out here to, be spitting stuff 200 feet at the electrical contractors and stuff. So for today's gig, for like first day on the site, cutting in access paths, stuff that's been neglected for years, this is a good little setup. So what we're gonna do is cut up some of these limbs, trim it up, and then see if the nifty lift wants to fit in here. And if it does, I'm gonna get a rope up on there. If it doesn't, I'm gonna figure out what the game plan is. But we just want to basically take that guy down without the use of a crane, because we've got this power line here, and like ideally without making a mess on that other lot, because we don't know when the clearing on that lot's going to start. It could start in a couple months, it could start in a year or two. So it's like we don't really want to start cutting in paths over there until we have a site plan, know what's going on. So all right, so we're cutting in some paths to get Bob in here, so getting access, tying up some rope work so we can get this leaning pine. We're gonna go ahead and rope to the bottom of it, pulley off the tree, kick the bottom out, have it fall. We're getting hung up here on a couple of vines. And then we've got we're getting there, but we're getting access to this guy, and we can actually get to the main culprit. We've got a couple other dead ones that we're noticing back here, so we'll be getting them down as well. Gonna tie off to those points right there. So this is why like having a good, well-built attachment is solid. Cool. cutting in our path, cut it in. I'm gonna go ahead and make a few cuts on this pine and probably secure a rope to it, rip it down. And then I guess we've got another pine here that's dead and a few other guys back here. So we'll walk back there and just start downing them. This is a 4-acre lot here. It's gotta get rid of this stuff, get it on the ground. Once it's on the ground, it's rotting. Sometimes the forestry mulcher can clean it up, which is great. And then we can come in and do some strip and clear, figuring out once we have house plan site. But at this point, we don't have house plan site.